thoroughly enjoyed working with him on the Mount Vernon Street subcommittee. He did a terrific job, and continues to do a good job releasing the development as it's unfolding. Constant communication to this day over it. So, there's no doubt. Serve well on whatever board committee commission. I think it's important for the board to ensure that everybody who's eligible for consideration by the board be considered.
Well, the one thing that's come out of this conversation, which we seem to be far from settling, is the need to review the policy and clarify what happens associated with when someone isn't appointed. I know on the Hillview Commission, when there was a period of time when a member didn't get reappointed, that member reapplied, as I recall, a letter of form. So, you know, I think that there's a need then for clarification about policy, just so that we don't get into this kind of discussion, and it's very clear to everybody as to how we should proceed. I do agree with Marcy, and I know that you followed that procedure in the past of contacting all of the appropriate people and asking them whether or not they wanted to be put on the list. And I know this is specifically relates to the Hillview Commission. When I was on the commission chair, we've had those discussions with you and the liaison. So I guess I'm going to ask the board, how do you want to proceed? I guess majority rules here, so where are we?
Well, I think we've got 2 vacancies, and we have more than sufficient, at least the same number or more people that are willing to serve, and the board should consider those. And if the board decides again to leave vacant, that's the decision of the board.
We do not, Mr. Chairman, we do not. We have 1 application for a position on this board so far. I am beating the bushes. I am talking to lots of people. I have done a great deal of work to generate this 1 application, okay? It is all well and good for people to talk about contacting people and contacting people. There is 1 application. Mr. Solomon's application is a request for reappointment. He was not reappointed. It's not an application. It's not a citizens activity application. Okay? And if you believe it is, I'm perfectly willing to go back and clarify whether it is or not. But however, I don't think that should hold up what we do here. As far as the associate member, I did not personally speak to the associate member, but other people did speak to the associate member who spoke to me. And she did not put in an application. Even though she was contacted, said there is 2 openings, she did not put an application. Whether she will down the road, my information was that she's considering that. She did not do that as of now. As of this moment, I have 1 application, okay? And the board meets in February. I wish not to hold up. The board could use this gentleman. Everybody agrees he's a great appointment. Why are we holding him up? There are no other applications, period. And I have made the phone calls. I kind of object at the suggestion that I'm like a newcomer who doesn't know enough to get out of the rain. Okay, I know enough. I've made 1 million calls here. Okay, and we're generating interest. I'm trying to generate interest. Everybody's excited about Mr. Norton. I suggest we allow Mr. Norton to participate. Okay, and nominate him, and I will be happy to answer the board's question at the next meeting about whether Mr. Solomon is interested or not interested, and Mrs. Dingman for that matter. I'll call Mrs. Dingman as well, and find out whether either of them are interested in being reappointed.
And Mrs. Blue, please.
And Mrs. Blue, I'll call her personally as well. Absolutely. That makes you happy. I will absolutely.
So let me
But that
suggest.
being the case, you know, if there is an interest on those people's part, 1 or all of their interest on their part, then how I would vote to fill the 2 vacancies. And if I have 2 votes to spread around as opposed to 1 at a time, it could influence the way that I vote.
You don't have 2 votes because there's
I
only
think
1 application.
There's 2 vacancies.
You
though.
don't have 2 votes because there's only 1 application. You don't
All
have
right,
2
look,
votes.
if we vote for 1 position tonight, based on the path that we were set, and we have 1, everyone has a vote here. You can abstain from voting, in which case, or don't provide a vote, and if 3 members of the board don't support this individual, that individual doesn't get put on, and next week or whatever, we'll take the subject up again. If 3 or more members of the board vote in favor of this individual, that individual's gonna fill that vacancy. And there's now one other vacancy. I've heard Mr. Dardino commit to going through the process of contacting other potential candidates, including past members that one that resigned and one that we didn't appoint the last time around, and put their names on the list for the second position.
The thing is, Mr. Chairman, if I'm given the opportunity to vote for 2, as you probably should be given, I may be personally wanting to support the 2 people previously served. If those 2 people are not interested, then I may have some other options, but I don't know that for sure. And I think,
Well, frankly, I don't know how to settle this. I mean, I think the only way we settle it is
vote on whether we vote for one
someone
person.
make a motion.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I may speak, you had asked a few moments ago, the consensus of the board. I think Mr. Lardino was saying we vote now on 1. I'm saying we vote now on 1. Mr. O'Leary is not saying 1 or 2. I don't know what Mrs. Bailey, how she feels, but I say let's just get that answer. If you say we vote on 1 now, there's our consensus, let's vote. It's gonna get icy, and we're gonna be here till 1 o'clock, and then we're not gonna get anything done.
And I assume
I say vote on 1.
I would be
Phil
in
says
favor
vote
of,
on 1.
I would be in favor of getting the questions answered as to whether or not there's more than one person interested in the positions. And if there's more than one, I'd like to vote on it.
There's
2
only
positions.
1 application.
All right. I've heard your position, Mrs. Bailey.
Am I a tiebreaker? Anyway, here I didn't appear to be.
Well, it looks like the chair is going to end up being the tiebreaker, just unless you.
I am confused about the process gone through to come up with this nominee, because what I heard Mr. Dardino say initially, I'm not sure is what I heard later. Later it sounded like there was a thorough check. My initial understanding was that 1 person has gone out and been recruited. Based on Mrs. DeFrance's input, I'll support Mr. Norton tonight. I'm not, but I'm not really comfortable with the process. But I'll support Mr. Norton tonight. If you call for a vote, I will not abstain.
What were you asking as to whether or not we want to proceed?
Yes.
Well, I think what.
And I think we have a consensus at this point, that we're going to proceed with the single vote. So let's.
I have to have a comment. I have to have a comment. My character has been, this aspersion has been sent on my character. I did not put this list together. I did not put this list together. The list is put together by Karen. She puts the list together of all the people who have activity, who have signed documents. All right, I have talked to a number of people. I know of no other application for a position. I know of none. Okay, and I do not believe that Mr. Solomon's application is a citizen's activity that fits under this category. That is my opinion, and that apparently is Karen's opinion as well. I didn't ask her to only put Mr. Norton up there. I did not do that. Okay, so don't suggest I have not done a thorough job. Okay, none of these other people you're suggesting have applied for a position at this time. It is common for her to put a list together of all the people who have citizens' activity. So she has put together 1 person. Now, what aspersions you wish to cast out of that, or machinations you think went on, have not. This is the only person who's got an application in this time.
Okay. Mr. Vino, would you please read the motion?
Okay, the motion is, Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following name for appointment as a member to the Historic District Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2008. That motion was made by Phil Dardino, was seconded by me.
And the name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Giles Norton, 59 Mount Vernon Street.
And I'm gonna call for a roll call vote just for the sake of
Okay.
Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Norton.
Mrs. B. Mr. Vino.
Mr. Norton.
Mr. Daggy.
Mr. Norton.
The chair votes Mr. And I think it's worthwhile revisiting the policy and clarifying. Would someone like to volunteer to take a look at that?
Nope.
I guess the chair-
I'm not big on policies.
We
Chair.
know, we know.
The chair evidently is going to end up having a look at that. Okay, next item on our agenda, town meeting warrant articles. I guess this is a list of everything we have to date. The warrant is closed for public input. The board still has the ability to add articles as needed for the time being.
Where is that?
Looking for it myself. Oh, you have it, it's,
Bushy.
Blue and which back?
The weekend.
weekend packet, it's in the weekend packet.
In the weekly back?
And it's marked draft.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I did not, I did see it.
Mr. Chairman, one that has been an ongoing discussion in relation to the Damon Tavern, we talked about last fall about the suppression system for the Damon Tavern, and we were going to put it off until April for consideration, if you recall. And I know Mrs. Digman has been working on it as part of the Historical Society. Commission, Historical Commission.
So are you suggesting that we insert
A
a
placeholder,
placeholder
just
or a
in case,
capital expenditure?
just in case they come up with somebody that other than this.
Board in agreement with that?
Yes, yes.
This is for the fire suppression system. Protect.
Well, what does it, that would then allow for,
It was like,
amongst other things, the David Tavern room to be used.
but it wasn't a water system, it was a hay lawn or something,
Right.
right? Okay, any other utility pool bylaw?
That's
We've
the
got to
double.
amend.
Back into that
You
again.
have to remove it.
Is there any way of correcting that?
I don't think so, it has to be deleted.
No, that's deleted, okay. No
It's
corrective
the
action.
open space plan sponsored by us.
Okay, we tried.
Yep.
I'm not familiar.
Which was it?
That
Fund
article,
the
fund
open
the open
space
space plan for 2025.
There was the Recreation Commission had submitted a request that the recreation plan be funded. Open space and recreation plan be funded. Apparently it's something the town goes through on a annual, I never say annual, but on a regular basis. In order to be eligible for state funds, you need to have a duly adopted open space and recreation plan.
Oh.
Did we get it? I'm not. That doesn't ring a bell.
I've heard about
Yeah.
the Bill Reed was working on this, so I think I've heard about it, Tom, and that's why it's ringing a bell.
Just get some.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna have. we're gonna
I know,
have a
I
hearing
just,
on it.
sooner rather than later, I don't
Yeah.
want to react to it.
Which one was that?
The last one under
Fund the
Selectmen,
open space
fund the-
plan,
Oh.
it's a recreation committee, a recreation department, I guess.
The Ashwood Drive one, it's like CPC, it was transfer parcel of land to Ashwood Drive.
Are there any citizens petitions on here?
Yes, why not? Last one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask
Down
about
the
that.
bottom, yeah. The dog park.